Right now, we can look ahead and appreciate where this technology is headed, but enough time has also passed and enough issues have already arisen that we can see the problems emerging caused by the widespread proliferation of chatbots. And unfortunately, when you take a good look around, we have to acknowledge that there are some very bad things happening with this technology. And that's to be expected because anytime a technology is democratized and a new tool becomes widely available and accessible for the first time, without strong barriers for entry, there are always unforeseen consequences. People do unexpected things with new tech. And right now, we're just beginning to realize that bots in the wrong hands can cause immense amounts of damage. Now that brings me to this guy. This man is one of the most polarizing people on the planet. And even though I don't want to talk about him, his political rise is intimately tied to the story of bots over the last few years. In fact, I could spend an entire hour talking about just the bots linked to this man's campaign, because it's the kind of stranger-than-fiction story that gets weirder and more absurd the deeper you dive into it. But this isn't really the time or place for that. In fact, I'm going to avoid saying anything about this man and his politics because he is so divisive, but we have to talk about him from the perspective of one communications professional to another. We build brands for a living, and we have to learn from the way bots are being used to bolster this man's personal brand. Bots are being used to amplify his tweets and spread his messages. Bots are being used to attack his opponents. Bots are being used to shape public discourse and to affect national dialogues and international debates all across the world. So these small, little pieces of software that live online, which might seem innocuous and harmless at first glance, can, in the wrong hands, be used to erode and poison social media platforms and conversations. These tools can undermine democracies. In fact, we're just beginning to understand and appreciate how bots have been weaponized. Now, we have to talk a little bit about this because we have to learn from it. So let's start here. There are two primary kinds of chatbots, if you categorize them by how they work. There are retrieval-based chatbots, and there are generative-based chatbots. Now, retrieval-based models are much simpler. Both Rose from the Cosmopolitan Hotel and the Cindy Gallup chatbot we looked at are retrieval-based chatbots. These bots can only say things from a very limited database of pre-written responses. There's no artificial intelligence involved. They can't freestyle. They can't improvise. And no matter what you say to them, they can only respond from a set of predefined answers. This retrieval-based chatbot, for example, was created during the 2016 USA presidential election, and it was designed to be informative to voters no matter what their political allegiance was.
What is your drug policy?
So I have been working with elected officials to try to figure out how do we put together a new approach, a new law enforcement approach, so that first-time, low-level drug users are not sent to jail.
That's why I don't drink. I don't drink. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't take drugs. Those are the three good things. I won't tell you the bad thing.
So it gives voters a clear idea of each candidate's position. It serves up authentic audio recordings, so there's no filtering, there's no framing, there's no editorializing. It's the candidates themselves quoted in their own words. It's fairly objective. There's no political slant. These are also retrieval-based chatbots, but these were designed with clear political agendas. These are a few of the chatbots designed by Donald Trump's political opponents in 2016. Now, these people who created these believed that if the American public actually knew some of the horrible things that this man has said over his life and career, no one would vote for him. So they replicate some of the absolutely horrible quotes he said over 30 years in the public eye. This approach did not work. These bots did not reach the people who voted for Donald Trump. Although they were designed to embarrass and disqualify him and his campaign, they didn't work. Now, here's an example of the second category of chatbots. This is a generative-based model powered by artificial intelligence. Now, this one is called Deep Drumpf. It exists on Twitter, and it's a great example of an AI-driven bot that makes up its own answers. This bot does not use pre-written answers. It generates answers based on a training data set it's been programmed with. So in this case, the creator of this Twitter bot fed a number of Donald Trump's speeches and quotes to this chatbot, and then the chatbot comes up with new and original tweets based on the training data it's been given. So Donald Trump never actually said any of these tweets, but they sound like him. They sound like plausible things he would say because this AI bot has the same stylistic tweeting style as the man it's been modeled after.